Dear all, welcome to the second lecture on the lecture series in Design and Engineering. In our previous lecture, we had seen an introduction to design and engineering. We defined the term, the design. What do you mean by design? And we also defined what is engineering design and the difference between design and engineering design. We also saw about the job profiles or the work that is handled by a designer and a design engineer. So what the difference is between designer and the design engineer. We also learnt about engineering design and the other different kinds of design. And finally, we just had a very brief introduction to the design processes. So in today's lecture, we will be learning in detail about the design process. So we are going to define our design process. So the design process is actually, as shown in this figure, it is a 12-step process. So this design process, we call it as the detailed design process because each of these steps are clearly mentioned in detail and there is a clear idea of what the designer or the design team has to do at each of these stages. But usually what is observed is that in organizations we cannot clearly identify the different 12 steps during the design process. So it is not necessary or it is not mandatory that every product or every organization which produces a product will have all these well-defined 12 processes. Sometimes you may notice that a few of the processes are combined together as a single process. For example, like defining the problem and brainstorming together, it will be a single stage. Research, idea generation, etc., it may be combined together. So altogether you may notice around 5 or 6 processes in the design process. So it depends on the organization as to how it defines the design process. It varies with the organization. Some of them may have a very detailed design process as shown here. Some of them may follow a very combined approach, as I mentioned. It may have only 5 or 6 stages. But all these activities will be carried out in those 5 or 6 stages. So let us look about what design process actually means. So design process, as I mentioned earlier, can be generalized into 6 steps or 6 processes. So it is being illustrated here. The first process is defining the problem. Then we have the second process, that is generating the concepts. Third is developing a solution. Fourth, construct and testing the prototype. Fifth is evaluate the solution. And sixth is present the solution. And you can see here, in between each of these stages or processes, there is a decision phase, a decision making phase. We check whether the condition is valid or if the condition is met at each of these stages, and only if the condition is met at each of these stages, the process is allowed to proceed to the next consecutive phase or stage. and in case the condition is not satisfied, we may have to move back to the previous or maybe to the first or the second phase. So all these processes are iterative in nature, in the sense that we may have to repeat each of these steps to finally obtain the final solution or the final product. So design process is an iterative process. So whenever we want to refine or we want to better the design process, we may have to do this process iteratively or repetitively. Only then the final product or the best solution can be obtained. So let us see in detail what are the different stages or the different steps that are carried out in the design process. So the design process starts by defining the problem. So defining the problem means we are identifying the problem. Problem here means it is the requirement. Suppose you are a customer and you need a product to satisfy a particular need or a requirement. So then that requirement of the product becomes the problem. So problem is actually the requirement for a product or a solution. You can simply say that if you identify or if you closely observe the market, you can see a large variety of products. For example, if you take the case of a washing soap or even toothpaste, any consumer products you take, you can see that there are a large number of products that are existing in the market. Even the same company produces many different types of products in the same category. For example, like toothpaste, you can see a large variety of different toothpastes produced for the same company. And like that, many different companies are producing different products under the same category, that is toothpaste. So why do you think so many different varieties of products exist in the market? That is only because they have a requirement by the customers. So every customer will have a different taste or a different requirement, and thereby to satisfy that requirement a product needs to be made. So the first stage in the design process is to identify what is the requirement of the customer. Now how to identify that problem? For that we do a lot of surveys and studies and researches based on the existing products that are available in the market, whether they are able to satisfy the customer needs and requirements, and whether the customer is not satisfied with any of the products, or if there is additional requirement for the customer regarding any of the products. So if there is a requirement for any additional demands or any new products, then that becomes the problem. So that is identifying what the problem is, or identifying what the requirement is. Next, we need to validate the problem. Validation means we need to cross check, or we need to identify clearly what the problem is about. Who says it's a problem? So how did you identify whether there is a requirement or not? And what are the needs and wants for the customer? Whether the customer really needs that product or whether it is not needed. Prior solutions, whether there are existing solutions for the problem, whether there are existing products that are already available in the market for that particular requirement. If it is available, then we cannot identify the problem, or that problem is solved, we can say. That requirement is met. If there are no prior solutions or there are no existing products, then there is a requirement for the customer which we have to address. Then justifying the problem. Justifying in the sense we have to make sure whether we need to proceed with the requirement or not. Is the problem worth solving? Should we find out, or should we make the product to meet the customer requirement or not? Whether the customer requirement is actually existing. If it is existing, whether we should proceed or not. That is justifying the problem. So is the problem worth solving? So after solving, or after the requirement is met, whether we are able to generate adequate amount of profit. So you know that every company does business for the motive of getting profit. So if there is no large demand for a particular product or a service, then there is no use of going with the requirement, because at the end, or after we have spent so much resources, time, etc., material, etc., and we release the product to the market, if there is no customer demand, then all those products will go as a waste, and all those resources also will be wasted. So in order to avoid that, we should identify whether we need to proceed with this problem or not. Then create design requirements or specifications. So when customer says about a requirement, he does not have a very clear idea of what the final product should be like. Every customer will have certain demands, and it is the role of, or it is the job of the design engineers to clearly identify what are the requirements of the customer and how these requirements can be incorporated or attached to the product, and finally whether the product will satisfy all the customer requirements or not. So we need to create a design requirement or specifications that are made, or specifications that are suggested by the customer. So while creating design requirements, we need to have a very good idea about the criteria, the design criteria and the constraints. So design criteria means what all things we need to keep in mind while designing. Constraints means the limitations that are imposed during the design process. So during designing, there are a lot of constraints that will be imposed, like there will be time constraint, economic constraints, material constraints, and a lot of constraints within which we have to do the design process. So all those things have to be taken care of. Then design brief. So what is design brief? Design brief actually is a document. It is a written plan, and it identifies what is the requirement, or what is the problem that has to be solved, or what is the requirement that has to be met for the customer, and what the criteria used for it should be, and what are the constraints under which the problem has to be solved. And design brief, the document is used to encourage thinking of all aspects of a problem before attempting a solution. So if you are making a document, a written document, then we can clearly identify how to think of finding a solution to that problem, how to approach that problem. There may be multiple number of ways to approach a problem. So all that different ways can be identified if we are properly maintaining or properly creating a document like design brief. If the problem is not valid, so after defining the problem, we need to check whether the problem is valid and whether it can be justified. That is, whether there is an actual requirement for the customer, and whether if we are proceeding with that requirement, whether it will be profitable for the company or not, whether the customer will like the product or not. If it is a yes, then we can go to the second step or the second stage, and if it is a no, then clearly our problem is not defined and we may have to define an entirely new problem. The second stage or the second phase is generating concepts. Generating concepts means we need to find out the possible solutions or the possible ways by which we can convert or we can translate the customer requirements into the final products. So simply saying, we need to find out the way of approaching the problem to solve it. So that is done by a vast research process. We need to study in detail how we are going to solve this problem. What are the different multiple ways of solving the problem? Which are the best ways of solving the problem, and how to approach each of these ways. Brainstorming possible solutions. So what is brainstorming? We will be discussing it in the next slide. It is actually an idea generation process. Brainstorming is an idea generation process. So after brainstorming, we will be able to identify a large number of solutions. Considering additional design goals. So other than the main requirement or the main goal for which the product is designed, there may be some additional requirements also to be met along with the main design goal. So we have to consider that also. Then apply STEM. STEM means science, technology, engineering and maths. So we need to use the principles of science, technology, engineering and maths while looking for the solutions to the problem. So while applying the solutions to the problem or approaching the solutions to the problem, we need to apply the principles of science, technology, engineering and maths. Then selecting an approach. There may be multiple number of ways, multiple number of approaches to approach a problem, but we cannot consider all the ways together. We may have to drop the infeasible or not workable ideas or ways and select an approach which is workable and which is profitable. Then we have the decision metrics using which we can find out or we can rank the ideas based on certain criteria. That also we will see. So brainstorming, it is a group idea generation technique, and there may be around 5 to 15 members which form a group, and there will be a leader for this group. A particular problem will be given for discussion, and a duration of around 30 to 45 minutes is allowed for the discussion. And during discussion process, every member is allowed to tell their views or ideas regarding this problem. So it can be views, it can be suggestions, it can be solutions, anything that is contributing to the idea that can be mentioned or that can be told during this session. So it is a highly motivating and productive technique. Almost all the members will have their own ideas, their own techniques or their own suggestions which they can tell, and the leader will be noting down each and every one of these points. and at the end of this session we will get a large number of points from every members that will help in the solution that will help in finding the solution to the problem. So that is brainstorming. And design or the decision matrix, it is actually a tool which is used to compare the different ideas or the different design solutions with one another depending on the criteria on which they are compared. So here you can see 6 ideas have been generated by discussion, and after discussion there are 6 number of ideas. These are the different constraints or the criteria that is applied. The 3 criteria, one is cost, second is complexity, third is development time. So these are the 3 criteria that is considered. So for the first idea, we are ranking each of these criteria based on a ranking system mentioned here. 1 represents a worst condition or worst idea. 2 and 3, 2 means fairly okay type, then 3 is good and 4 is best. So based on this ranking system, we rank each of these ideas for the 3 criteria mentioned here. So you can see the numbers represents the ranking system. Then we add all these numbers together and finally we get a score. The idea or the design solution which has the highest score is selected first. For here, example in here, the third idea number 3 has got a total of 10 and idea number 6 has got a total of 11. So the first or the best idea is the idea number 6, followed by idea number 3, then idea number 4, 5 and so on. So it is just a tool to select which is the best decision solution, which is the best design solution by comparing the different criteria. So after we are done with generating the concepts, again we need to check whether the particular technology exists for doing the process, that is by generating the concepts. So for generating the concepts or to generate a solution for the problem, is a technology available? If it is a no, then we may have to do a scientific research on whether any alternative techniques are available, and we may have to go back to the second stage. If no alternatives are available, then again we may have to define a new problem, because if technology is not available, if the machinery is not available, then surely we may not be able to proceed further. So we will have to stop it there. Then the third phase. So after the second phase is over, if the technology is existing, if it is a yes, then we can proceed to the third phase. The third phase is developing a solution. So for developing a solution, we need to create a detailed design solution. So detailed design means it will clearly show what are the different operations to be conducted on the particular product, what are the planning activities to be made on the product, the different production operations, the different raw materials that are needed, the different parts that are needed, assemblies that are needed, sub-assemblies. So all those details, engineering details, will have to be created. So that is meant by creating detailed design solution. So a detailed design solution will clearly give you an idea of what are the different resources and the different materials that will be needed for reaching the final solution. Justify the solution path. Solution path in the sense the way of solving the problem. So creating a detailed design will help you to identify whether you are progressing in the correct direction, whether all these raw materials, all these parts, assemblies, etc., whether it will be available at the correct time, whether the economic constraints will be met, and whether all these parts and sub-assemblies together will it serve the function, whether it will finally end up in a useful product or not. All these things can be identified. Then we will be creating technical drawings or engineering drawings. So in detailed designs, we will be creating the technical or the engineering drawings. So actually they are drawings that provide technical information necessary to produce a product, like what is the material used for the product, what is the dimension size of the product, the shape or form of the product. If it is an assembly, what are the different sub-assemblies or sub-parts that are needed for making that product, etc. So you can see here how an engineering drawing or detailed engineering drawing looks like. This is the drawing of a mobile phone, an old mobile phone, Sony Ericsson. The front view, the left view, the right view, top view, bottom view, the back side view, the sectional view, etc. In all these views, you can see clearly that the dimensions are given for each parts and each accessories. Even for the key size, distance between the keys, all those are mentioned in detail. Apart from the dimensions, usually in an engineering drawing, a bill of material will also be mentioned. So bill of material means what are the different parts or what are the different materials that are used in the drawing or to be used in the drawing, and what are the different parts that are mentioned in the drawing, and how many number of each parts is needed for making the assembly. All these details will be mentioned in the engineering drawing. So engineering drawing is actually the starting point for the product design. So the design engineers will be working with the engineering drawing, and then they will be creating a two-dimensional or three-dimensional model using CAD softwares based on the engineering drawing or the technical drawing. So technical drawing serves as the input. Here you can see the technical drawing is actually not so detailed. In actual practice, the detailed technical drawing will have a lot more details other than dimensions. As I mentioned, dimensions will be there, then tolerances will be there, materials used will be there, then what are the different number of parts and the sub-assemblies used will be there. All the details will be mentioned in the technical drawing. Here you can see the drawing of the car, the different dimensions that are marked here, the clearance, then the distance between the center of the wheels, the width, the height, all those details are mentioned here. So this is the example of an engineering or a technical drawing. Now after developing a solution, again we need to check whether the solution is valid or not. So we can develop a solution by different methods, but the solution should be valid, it should be workable, otherwise we cannot proceed further. So we need to check whether the solution is correct or not, or valid or not. If it is not valid, again we may have to go back to the previous stage. If the solution is valid, then we can proceed to the next successive stage. So the next stage is constructing and testing a prototype. Now what is a prototype and how is it different from a model? A model, you might have heard of the term model, a working model, still model, etc. A model actually represents the product and it is actually used for demonstration or academic purposes, just for study purposes. Whereas a prototype is actually a working model. We can say that it is a working model. It closely resembles the final product. So a prototype, it has all the functionalities of the final product, but there may be some differences between a prototype and the final product. The prototype will have to undergo testing so that if the testing is successful, it will be converted or it will be manufactured into the final product on a large scale. If the prototype fails the test, then it has to be redesigned again. So a prototype is made of much cheaper material than the actual product, so that after testing, if the prototype cannot be reused again, we can manufacture another prototype again. So prototypes are always made of a cheaper materials so that the cost reduction is possible. If we are trying to make a prototype with the actual material of the final product, then it will be very costly. So here we reduce the cost by using cheaper materials for a prototype. So that is the difference between a model and a prototype. Models are usually used for demonstration or academic or study purposes, whereas prototypes are actually a close resemblance of the final product and they are used to test whether the prototypes can be converted or can be finally made into the final product or not. So constructing a testable prototype, and we need to plan the prototype testing. So prototype testing will comprise of testing the performance of the prototype, how it is performing, whether the performance is comparable with that of the final product, whether all the requirements are being met or not. Usability. So when the customer says certain requirements and we make a product which meets all those requirements, however finally we see that the product cannot be easily used by the customer. Customer is finding some difficulty in using the product. So the product that we have designed will not be of much use to the customer because the customer is finding it difficult to use. So we have to check for the usability factor also, whether the product which we have designed, the prototype which we have made is usable, so that the final product is also usable for the customer. Durability means how much time or for how much period of time the product or the prototype will serve its function, will function for its intended life period or not. that is known as durability. Whether sufficient quality material is used, whether it will serve the customer or the requirements of the customer for sufficiently longer time or not. So all these things are planned in prototype testing. So prototype testing will involve testing of performance, usability and durability. So after testing the prototype, we will collect the test data and analyze the test data, and then we will report or create a test report which mentions all these things: how the performance test was conducted, under what conditions it was conducted, whether it was successful or not, whether the prototype was found to be usable or not, whether it is durable or not. So all these results and the conditions under which the testing has been conducted, everything will be documented and will be kept as a report, that is known as the test report. So in prototyping, the first stage of testing and implementation of a new product is prototyping. So as we mentioned, before constructing the final product, we need to create a prototype and do all the testing. Only if the prototype successfully clears all these tests, it will be allowed to proceed to the final stage. That is, the prototype will be manufactured into a product, final product. So prototyping consists of building a prototype of the product, and prototype is actually the first fully operational production of the complete design solution. So prototype closely resembles the final product in its functionality and operation. The only difference is in the material in which, or the material with which, the prototype is built. A prototype is not fully tested, may not work or operate as intended. So it is not possible to do all the testing on the prototype. Some testing may have to be done on the final product also. So a prototype cannot be tested fully, and it may not work or operate as intended. Some of the functionalities may be blocked, some of the functionalities may be available only in the final product. So once the final product is made, again testing has to be done on the final product also. The purpose of prototype is to test the design solution under real conditions. So before developing the final product, we can do a number of tests on the prototype to make sure that the final product also confirms or successfully clears all these tests. Here you can see how the focus or the clarity goes or develops during the process of design. During the research phase, when we are identifying the problem, everything is in a very jumbled manner. No one has a clear idea about what the problem actually is. So that is meant by uncertainty. So this is the uncertainty pattern that is being shown. Jumbled means it is not very clear. Once it reaches the concept phase, the irregularity or the uncertainty slowly reduces. When it reaches the prototype stage, it becomes somewhat clear as to what the design solution is. And finally, when it reaches the actual design, then we are clearly aware of what the solution is or how we should proceed with the solution. Here you can see very few number of pictures which I have pasted here, that is prototypes. This is an aircraft wind tunnel test which actually resembles or which actually mimics the conditions that an aircraft will undergo during flight. We know that there are certain aerodynamic conditions experienced by the flights during the flight when the aircraft is flying. Air pressures and the wind speeds, etc., all those will affect the flying conditions. So in order to test those flying conditions, the wind tunnel is being used as a testing purpose, as a testing equipment. Then we have an automobile, a four-wheeled prototype, and again another prototype of a car, which we actually call the prototype as the concept. You might have heard of the concept, new concepts, concept models, etc. So concepts are actually prototypes. They are not actually into the market, but they are almost into the final stage of design, and during the concept phase the customer can use this concept, or the company actually takes the different opinions of the customers regarding the design and makes changes in the concept. So that is the purpose of the concept. So you might have seen that in many auto shows, many new concept models are demonstrated by companies. So the idea is to give an awareness to the customer that such a model is coming, and to get a feedback on the model, whether the customer is liking the model, whether some changes have to be incorporated in the model, some functionalities have to be added in the model, etc. So after taking all these inputs, the company will try to incorporate or try to build in whatever can be, whatever it is possible to build in that concept or not. And finally the company will release the actual automobile model, the actual automobile. So that is the purpose of using a concept. So concept is actually, it is also a prototype. So after constructing a prototype and testing it, you need to check whether the prototype is valid or not. If the prototype cannot be built, or if the test data indicates it is a flawed design, it means it is not passing the test, then the designer will have to move back to the previous steps. It can be the immediately previous step, or it can also be the second or the first stages. Fifth stage is evaluating the solution. Evaluating the solution means we may have a number of solutions available in our hand. We need to, or we can proceed with only maybe one or two final solutions. So for that we need to evaluate which solutions, or which of the solutions are the best, and we need to choose those solutions. So that is known as evaluating the solution effectiveness. Selecting the solutions which are most effective. Then how does it reflect on the design? Evaluating the solution, we need to recommend improvements on the solutions which are not found to be much effective. We also may have to optimize or redesign the solution. So we may have a number of solutions in our hand. The solution which we may pick up for the final process or to continue may not be the best solution, or may not have reached the best solution stage. We may have to recommend some improvements on that, or we may have to do some adjustments on that solution. That is known as optimizing or redesigning the solution. And we will have to, or we may have to, return to the prior or the earlier design process steps if it is necessary, and accordingly we will have to revise the design documents. We may have to change or edit the design documents based on redesigning the solution. And finally we will have to give some recommendations on the project, that is known as project recommendations. What all things we may have to incorporate to make the design more better, or to optimize or to create a most better design. What are the recommendations that are suggested, that are known as project recommendations. So after evaluating the solution, we check whether the solution that we have selected solves our problem or not. We have defined the problem, whether the solution which we obtained after all these steps is able to solve the particular problem, or whether it is able to meet the particular requirement. If it is a yes, then we go to the final step. If it is a no, then we must return to the previous steps. The sixth and the final stage is presenting the solution. Presenting the solution means the final product has to be presented, or to be shown or given or handed over to the customer. That is known as presenting the solution. If the customer is having a requirement, we do all the process, finally we make a product, and finally we give that product to the customer. Documenting the project. So once we do the project, we will have to document or create the document for each of the steps in detail. What are the things which we have done, and what are the recommendations that are given, how can we improve the process, all the such things need to be documented. And we need to communicate the project by means of a formal presentation. So what are the things that we have done in this project, how we have approached this project, what are the different solutions that we obtained, which solution we had taken, and how it has met the customer requirements. All these things have to be documented, and it should be shared with the design team and the management. So that is through a formal presentation. So as mentioned earlier, the design process, we can see here all these steps are iterative in nature, repetitive in nature, because we may have to proceed to the previous steps at each of the stages. We may have to go back, then come forward, again go back. Like that we may have to do this iteratively or repetitively until we reach the best solution. So the design processes are always iterative in nature. And what needs to be done when we need to redesign the existing product or the existing process? So product innovation, which means we may have to redesign the process or redesign the product, then the entire design process has to be repeated again. So we mentioned that there are actually 12 steps, but here only 6 steps have been mentioned. So which means some of the steps are combined into a single step. And these 12 steps mentioned here in detail, they are called as a detailed design process. And the 6th step is the general design process. So clearly understand the difference between the generic or the general design process, which consists of 6 steps, and if you are considering each of these steps, again we can write each of these steps in detail as the detailed design process. Each of these detailed design stages can be combined into a single stage in the general design process. So that's all about the design process. I hope the video was useful to you, and kindly revert or kindly ask any questions or communicate the doubts if you have any regarding the design process. Thank you.